I hear that high school shop classes are making a resurgence. Interesting. I'm glad to hear it. Though they're calling them something different than they did back in the early 70s when I was in school. They're VEP classes now, short for Vocational Education Programs. Sometimes they're called CTE classes, Career and Technical Education. Anyway, I took these classes. We just called it shop class. They were mandatory and lasted a semester. At the time, I kind of thought it was, a waste of time, silly, and slightly insulting to my obvious white-collar future. But it was fun, actually. Though I ended up a journalism major, shop class opened up in me a new outlet. I found I liked building things. I've read that from the 90s through the 2010s, most traditional shop classes disappeared from middle schools and high schools all across the U.S. One of the many issues that helped create today's skilled labor shortage in metalworking and CNC machine shops, CNC, computer numerical control. Individual states' fundings for CTE programs, along with other revenue sources like federal Perkins grants, are beginning to provide the support needed for a manufacturing industry desperate for talent. Though I learned a lot from my shop class experience, let's be honest, my endeavors weren't all that robust. My finished products left a lot to be desired, in other words. But then again, I was watching my fellow classmates stretch their creative wings while I was learning through a hands-on experience myself. We'd listen and watch our instructor, Mr. Rucker, who would build the item first. Then we'd go about replicating it over the next several class periods. First up was a sheet metal dustpan. Instead of taking a few minutes like it did Mr. Rucker, everybody had to share time on the sheet metal bending machine, which slowed everybody down. It's different when you do things yourself for the first time. But when it was my turn, I didn't break any of my fingers. That was a minor achievement in itself. The hefty dustpan turned out solid and square. Mom used it for years until somebody drove over it in the garage. Next up was a pair of wooden bookends. Easy enough, right? I selected a beautiful piece of maple that I cut into 2 halves and then unleashed my fledgling design skills on them. Each started out substantial pieces, but mistake after mistake required cutting off my boo-boo areas. My once large bookends soon became rather insignificant, too lightweight to hold back very many books. But hey, they were beautiful after staining and varnishing. The last item also ended up a ghost of its original size, a plastic pen and pencil desk holder. We were given pens and pencils in their holders, but we constructed the desk holder base. We poured liquid acrylic plastic into the design mold, and then let it harden. I chose a light blue color. Next came the buffing, and the goal was to buff the plastic until it was clear enough to see through. It would have turned out perfect had I minded my P's and Q's and held it tighter. One afternoon, the spinning buffer wheel grabbed hold of my hard plastic and threw it across the room, bouncing it off the cement floor all along the way. I cut off the broken pieces, and what was left looked miniature compared to everybody else's, but when I added the pen and pencil holder, it looked sturdy enough. Thus ended my semester of shop class. I think I made a B in the class. Later in life, I used my shop working skills, building 3 sets of stereo speakers, a small china cabinet, and various other projects, including an impressive entertainment center. For a radio journalist, sometimes I even impress myself. That's my take on it. For Paragon Communications, I'm Paul Joseph.